For more on this issue, I want to bring on former Georgia congressman and Trump campaign surrogate, Jack Kingston. So, Jack, we've seen over the past couple of weeks that states are finally starting to reopen. A lot of them actually against the guidance of the CDC, but they say that based on their own local data, that it is the right move. Do you think that it is time for some of these states to start slowly but surely opening?
Absolutely. I think the cowardly way out is to hide under the bed and say no one can go out. It's just ridiculous. That's not practical. With 33 million people unemployed, you're going to have suffering of another type if we don't get back to work. In Georgia, as you know, we are open. More and more people are getting out each day. We're almost having traffic jams again. Never thought I'd say that I miss them, but now I do. The truth of the matter is, though, our capacity is totally different than it was in February. Now we have more hospital beds. We know more about the disease. We have ventilators. We have N95s. We have what you need in case the pandemic does explode again in certain hotspots. As was pointed out by sports, I'm not sure we do have a cure for AIDS, but I'll tell you this, most people don't realize 32 million people have died of AIDS. And in 2018, that number was 770,000. So, every time you cross the street, every time you get in the car, you're taking your life in your own hands. But you just can't hide underneath the bed the way some of these blue state uh, mayors and governors want us to.
And I do sympathize with the idea, too, that a lot of people are not getting their paychecks right now. I say it every day now. We have to acknowledge the fact that a lot of people are not financially getting by right now. They're going without paychecks. They don't know how they're paying rent. They don't know how they're buying groceries, stuff like that. But on the other side of that coin, you do have the acknowledgement, rather, that I think as of right now, we're inching up on 85,000 deaths in this country in just a matter of a couple months. Do you think that this should be a regional approach? For example, not a one-size-fits-all. Maybe New York continues their lockdown, where states that are not having a bad outbreak, such as Georgia and Florida, can begin to reopen. Is that the right way to go about this?
I think it is. And also, the great thing about federalism, if we find out that we're doing something wrong and they're doing it better in another state, we can borrow their ideas, cross pollinate all the good ideas, the things that work. So it absolutely is. And people in certain areas are going to push the envelope, and some areas are going to be risk adverse, but that's okay. And that's why you live in different areas.
And Jack, we saw too a couple key special election victories, one in Wisconsin and another one in around the Los Angeles area in California. And those to me spoke a little bit of a telling sign of what may come later on. The Wisconsin one was a little bit safer. The Orange County one, though, was held by Democrat Katie Hill. Of course, she had to resign. And then we saw the Republican Mike Garcia take that seat. Do you think that these lockdowns or the public's response to what's going on at all will play an effect come November?
I think it will, because that was the first time we've won that seat for 20 years in California. And despite the California governor opening up new polling places and doing the usual California Democrat moves that they do, I'm always afraid they win more elections after the election than they do going up to it. But the enthusiasm was there. I talked to Tom Emmer, who is the chairman of the Congressional Committee in Washington, D.C., and he said it's the enthusiasm that voters right now are tired of the big spending, and they're tired of the endless investigations, and our team wants to get back to work. So I think we're going to have a lot of enthusiasm come November.
And when it comes to this issue, too, we've seen the different approaches that, for example, President Trump will take and former Vice President Joe Biden. President Trump has actually been largely on board with the public health officials. He supported the lockdowns initially. Of course, it was something that he left up to the governors to make. He didn't implement a or a nationwide type of lockdown. In fact, there's constitutional issues as whether he even could. But when it comes to that, too, he has supported the lockdowns to some degree. He was skeptical of Georgia Governor Brian Kemp at first when he wanted to reopen his state. Do you think that the president's handling of this is right, letting the governors make that decision?
I think he is. I think he is saying, look, we've got the backup that we can help you with. We can't get you all the N95s you might need, but we do have backups. FEMA is doing a great job in terms of logistics of getting the things out there that hospitals need. But at the same time, you got to let the governors make the decision. When you think about a country of 325 million people, lots of type A personalities out there, and lots of politics that we can't take out of the equation, I think the president is right. He's gotten the information for the governors. They're working closely with them. But as you said, the CDC guidelines are only guidelines. It's the local authorities who actually decide if your salad bar is going to be open at the restaurant and how many people can stand in a bus stop or not, and how many kids can go back to class. Those are local decisions, and we should be happy about that in America because that's part of our Constitution is federalism.
Yeah, and just like the point that you've made, we played the soundbite by Dave Portnoy, Barstool Sports before too. I think part of the complication of the messaging here is the fact that a lot of the goalposts have shifted as this moved on. It was supposed to be 15 days. Now it's indefinitely in parts of Los Angeles. People just don't know when they're going to go back and really even what type of numbers we're looking at in order to get to that point. I think that uncertainty is really going to cause a lot of people to think twice about following these social distancing orders, which comes to the detriment of what a lot of these governors are going to do. I think the messaging needs to be clear of when people can get back and start making them their livelihood once again. I think you're right on to say that. But Jack Kingston, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you.